Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. You should probably go ahead and hit like and subscribe now and then lock out your keyboard because I'm probably going to be a little mean in this video. Tomorrow is moving day. Our moving company is going to be hauling furniture out from Austin out here finally, and this is my last chance to record a video here in this wonderfully giant living room and just wander around. In the video I made, I believe it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before, there's been so much stuff happening these last few weeks. The one I did about the first trailer for the Dungeons & Dragons movies. I noticed there's a couple of comments of the usual kind of snide remarks about tieflings, and it'd be better if they were using the Beck-me races and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know. I'm going to just be real honest with my opinion on this. Are some of you stupid? Like, I used to have, like, a high opinion of gamers. Like, nerds weren't just people who just happened to like comic books, but they were people who, understood science and math and all sorts of stuff. I remember a comment on my Goblin Slayer video of someone who had looked at the rules, and they're like, but there's multiplication. And I'm like, yeah, it's a Japanese role-playing game written by Japanese people. The fact that it involves a little slightly higher math than 1 + 1 equals the bonus of +2 isn't surprising. And also, you should be up to this task. Role-playing games, even for just, layman players, involves some amount of, intellectual skill in order to be able to pull off one way or the other, whether it's understanding the rules, whether it's being able to anticipate and plot out plans and think around corners, or also just the mixture of intelligence and charisma it takes just to be able to properly role-play another character properly in kind of a pseudo-acting kind of way. And yet, I have to say, since starting this YouTube channel, periodically, I just come across comments that just make me just kind of want to blink. Like, full body blink. Like, what? I wish I was better at doing video editing. I'd put in that meme of the dude who just goes, kind of a thing, does this kind of shit. Look, guys, elves and dwarves are boring and stale. Never liked halflings. The Kender suck ass. As I've brought up occasionally in the past, I'm actually not an old school D&D person. I didn't get into D&D until well into my 30s, when 4th edition came out. I didn't like playing 4th edition because I didn't like how the rule system was so wed to the miniatures, but it was the thing that got me back into gaming after like a decade-long hiatus in my 20s, and then I got into 5th edition, which I found, like a more fun play experience, and I appreciated how much of the basic homework was already done for you. It was a lot more plug and play and easier to put a session together as a game master and all that kind of stuff. And because it was so lacking in world information, that's what dragged me to go to TTRPG in the first place and start ordering the older TSR, AD&D, and basic products. I do remember having a copy of the D&D Rule Cyclopedia that I had picked up at Half Price Books as a teenager, and the one time I ran D&D back when it was still a TSR brand, was me attempting to run Playscape using the Rule Cyclopedia, as the rule book instead of having all the AD&D books, because they were a pain in the ass to find back then. I started off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, and then Rifts, and then played an awful lot of White Wolf games, and then kind of quit for a long time because of going to a Magic the Gathering tournament. It really wasn't anything to do with role-playing games themselves. I used to do a lot of Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse live action. I got an award at a vampire convention in San Antonio that the Camarilla was running for best karaoke performance. Even though I was playing a Gangrel, because I didn't really know anybody there, I just kind of wandered in the Malkavian room, and they had a karaoke machine, and so I just kind of parked there for the night. Nothing like big or anything fancy. It was still just kind of funny, though, that they decided to do that. But, D&D is a fucking kid's game. Of all the role-playing games, it is one of the most childish. And the fact that so many fucking adults my age are still this hung up on it. I've said in some of the other videos, a lot of these stuff that, gets D&D accused of having gone woke, to whatever degree that may or may not be true, the primary impetus behind this is still marketing, and it's the fact that this is what marketers have told the people at corporate that kids want nowadays. And because of a whole variety of things that have happened in the last 30, 40 years, you have a company that owns this brand that's had a pretty controversial past, most of it bullshit because of stuff like accusations of it's going to make your kids learn how to use the occult and turn them into Satanists and all that kind of stuff, kind of being its origins. And now it's just moved on to a different kind of controversy. Now half the people say, oh my God, such a horrible racist thing we're playing. And then you have the other half saying, how dare you call this a horrible racist thing? We're going to make it more racist just to fuck with you. I don't... in the end, I kind of wish this wasn't the issue. I would just like to say, hey, here's a cool game. Here's my thoughts about it. However, the world, and YouTube in particular, is kind of driven by controversy nowadays. We got to get our clicks, after all. No one wants to see something positive. The highest viewed things on this channel are always the things where it's me ranting for 20 minutes about how the system is out to get us in some form or fashion when it comes to our stupid fantasy games. But why I'm saying in particular, people commenting about the tiefling shit is just dumb. Look, guys, let's think real world here for a second. Dungeons and Dragons as a movie and whatever kind of other, entertainment franchises they want to try to branch out into if the movie does any well, is in competition with stuff like Game of Thrones, which we're about to get, whatever, the House of the Dragon show, and the Rings of Power, and also the rather huge pop culture imprint that Steve Jackson's, whatever the fuck his name was, the Lord of the Rings movies from the year 2000 and on. They've left a huge imprint on the public's mind about what fantasy is. If D&D, the movie, in modern day times, came out and was all a bunch of elves and dwarves and little half-sized guys prancing around, what exactly is it to keep audiences from being confused about whose brand is what? It's going to look virtually identical to Lord of the Rings material to your average consumer. The studios are aware of this. They want to make sure that they have brand recognition and all that, especially if they want to have something that's distinctly unique, that takes off with the public. And so because of years and years of D&D adding other races and stuff into the mix, we're going to get a tiefling. I'm disappointed that they didn't balls out and have a dragonborn character, but maybe there'll be something like that later. At least they did put a Goliath in that Critical Role cartoon. I'm sick of having to talk about D&D. I really am. Unfortunately, though, it's what feeds the beast. If I want audience growth and retention. But I'm not here to be y'all's friends. No YouTuber that you watch is your friend. Most of them are just holding out a little cup asking for your money constantly. Not even giving you a product. For the privilege of hearing Razorfist say your 140 character long comment at him, you can give him $29.99. That kind of shit. At least I actually sell physical books you can buy if you want to go to the trouble of finding them. And I don't make everything about that. I do bring it up because that's the whole fucking point of this channel. But if I want eyeballs and attention, I gotta talk about how everything's terrible. It's always constantly terrible. Do you wonder if how much of your own personal anger and angst issues are being driven by the fact that you've spent the last 5 years watching YouTube videos every single fucking day about how terrible Star Wars is and Star Trek is? I'm not even saying that they're not bad, but when you stop liking something, you walk away from it. You don't just keep hanging on to it. I can always go back and watch old Star Trek if I feel disappointed. and what new Star Trek is, but I'm not gonna like have a whole channel of every day. It's like, and then in this episode of Star Trek Brave New World, Captain Pike pulled out his penis and rubbed it all over the, yeah. You know, like I'm just, you know, like what is that? There's people on this fucking platform who've made entire careers out of just every day saying that Rian Johnson sucks. In the long term, The Last Jedi is the only one of this fucking trilogy of sequel Star Wars movies that's going to be remembered as having, like, you know, anything actually culturally relevant to say. The J.J. Abrams are just a bunch of hollow trash because his entire philosophy is that fucking mystery box shit, a classic carny huckster type of thing to do. You know, you can have the brand new car, or you can choose what's in the mystery box. At least Hollywood seems to be kind of waking up to the fact that this guy's actually not good for their franchises, because every franchise he's touched, he has left in a steaming ruin where everyone is arguing with each other over the contents of an empty box. And that's not what smart people do. If I'm being mean to you, it's because I expect better from you. I'm not necessarily trying to drag you down and make you feel bad about yourselves. We're supposed to be the smart ones. But, you know, I mean, we've wasted our time, our whole adult lives being giant man-children, collecting toys and playing video games and still clinging on to these stupid fucking role-playing games we played in our fucking teenage years, while all the jocks and the preps that we hated back in the day went on to go to business school and they're now making bank. So it's your choice. Look, the studio needs tieflings and Goliaths and Tabaxi and Dragonborn and all the others unique stuff, so they can put them in their movies and TV shows and cartoons and whatever else they have planned, if they can actually make a successful film franchise out of Dungeons and Dragons, which is already a long shot and has at least some amount of chance thanks to the fact that D&D has been made culturally relevant thanks to stuff like Stranger Things. But it's still a long shot, and they're not going to want to get muddled up in the fact that there's already a big franchise out there full of elves and fucking dwarves. My God, elves and fucking dwarves. Like, it's boring. We've been doing this for like a century. There's already plenty of shit out there already with elves and dwarves anyway. It's not like we're lacking in elf-dwarf content. So I guess my overall message is chill the fuck out, read a goddamn book, do a little fucking more math in your lives, stop looking at PDFs and having to do all your shit with a calculator. The whole point to playing tabletop role-playing games is to have an analog experience. So put the fuck away your phones, put the fuck away your laptop, write your adventure out on a fucking notebook with a goddamn pen, and actually have the old school experience, if that's what you're so fucking into. But, like, you know, how much of this is just a byproduct of nerds being so computer reliant that it's actually making us all dumber? I don't know. I guess that's for you to decide. Rant over. Fuck off!